Well, welcome back, viewers. This is James Kalm, the guy on the bike. And today we're coming to you from the new museum. Right here on the Bowery. We're going to go in here today and look at a retrospective exhibition by Llyn Foulkes. Stay tuned. Well, I was just talking to some people who are interested in seeing the show, and I said we're going to get all folked up here today. This is a picture of Llyn playing his music machine. I think he started doing this maybe in the late 60s, and actually had a band called Rubber Band and played on the Johnny Carson show. We'll sort of start out chronologically here. Take a look at some of the early works. This is from 1962, Geographical Survey of Eagle Rock. And I'm not going to get all the names, but we'll just take a look at some of these and maybe comment in passing. Now, one of the interesting things for me is that it seems there's been a kind of a renewed interest in New York on California artists. This piece is titled Geography Lesson 1960-61, Oil and Collage on Canvas. Anyway, so they had the J. DeFeo retrospective up at the Whitney, and Neuhaus has been showing some California art over the last couple of years, and there's been individual shows. I think Llyn had a one-person show at Loring Augustine maybe a year and a half ago. Portrait of D.W. Griffith, 1962. But it's kind of interesting because I like the funk. That's the little F, funk, that a lot of this California art represents. Oh yeah, this also kind of puts me in mind of the Now Dig This show that was at PS1 that was so controversial. It's called Summer School 1962. And there's a certain kind of grungy dirtiness. And I think it's almost like a frottage technique that he's using. It's called Preview 1962. And although there are a lot of very formalistic elements, the way he's kind of divided up this picture plane into a triptych, and this kind of abject use of framing devices, I think that there's a real nice kind of crappiness, you know, the handmade grubby paw quality that I like. This is titled In Memory of St. Vincent School, 1960. Now, it says in the press release that Llyn was very much involved with the California scene back in the late 50s, early 60s. I guess he was from Washington State, was drafted into the Army, and then came out and went to the Cunard Art School, which became Cal Arts. And ended up getting hooked up with the people at the Ferus Gallery. It's called the Ellenberg Canyon Landscape. And he's got some very unusual techniques for his collage that almost makes it look photographic. Oh, this is a challenging piece. It's titled Flander, and they just call it mixed media. And it's like a lot of the California artists back there on kind of funk and fetish finish split. A lot of these people were using all kinds of plastic and resins. It's untitled 1961. It makes me think of a brewery, maybe. This is titled Return Here 1959. And I believe that was the year that he started showing at Ferus. And got hooked up with people like Ed Keinholz and Walter Hopps. This is also kind of a harbinger of some of his more three-dimensional pieces using these figurative elements come along about 10 or 15 years later. This is titled Images of Perception, 1952, and this might be the oldest painting in the show.
It's not.
It's not.
It's only 19, or actually it is. I misread this. If it was at 50.
Okay.
This is his Dali copying Juvenile.
That's what I was thinking, kind of bad Dali. Oh, look at some of his drawings. Oh, look, there's Thomas Micchelli. What do you think of?
Very carefully.
Do you think that there's kind of a revival of interest in California artists here in New York?
Seems that way. Seems
Yeah.
That way. I mean, his work, Foulkes' work was in that show at Fine Art about a month or so ago.
Right.
With David Lynch, who spent most of his time.
I was going to say, I actually was looking at some of his more three-dimensional pieces, and David Lynch's recent work kind of popped into my mind. I don't know whether you saw that show uptown.
No, I missed that one.
Well, there's a great video online you can see of it.
Take a look at that.
All right, thanks, Tom. And now some of the drawings have what I would kind of think of as almost a Diebenkorn-esque quality. And so these kind of most religious image pieces make me think again of some of the early J. DeFeo. Now, I saw a video interview of Llyn before I came here, and they were talking about him wanting to be a cartoonist when he was a child. I guess you'd call this juvenilia. Untitled Drawing Circus, 1950. Well, chronologically, we're going to move on to some of the work that he got his initial recognition for. Now he's moved from the kind of dirty, grungy funk into a kind of a intriguing pop art, and he actually incorporates formalist elements. This is titled Junction 410 from 1963, and this is oil and lacquer on canvas, and I would say this is probably about 8.5 by 6 feet, and I like the kind of the hard geometric approach that he's taken, but he's mixing it with his kind of odd frottage montage technique. It's titled Death Valley, USA, 1963, and I wouldn't be surprised if people like Ed Ruscha might have been looking at some of this stuff. You know, I often think about what it would be like to grow up as a California artist in the 40s and 50s and realize that, you know, if you're in New York, you'd be working between people like Hans Hofmann, Marshall Gorky, Jackson Pollock, but out in California, you'd be working between Simon Rodia and his Watts Towers and the fantasy of Walt Disney, and I think that's why these guys have a little more freedom, maybe. It's titled Cow. 1963, and I guess that was his breakthrough show at Ferus, an exhibition of cow paintings. So that'd be about the same time that Warhol was having his Campbell Soup Can show. So pop was raging even in California. Postcard from Gilroy. This is oil on canvas. And he very self-consciously keeps his drips in there. Valery Oisteanu, you want to make a statement?
Oh, I think
Are you a fan?
Llyn Foulkes, a big fan. He's a great artist, and for the first time I see how multi-talented he is and
Yes.
how many different media. He is fantastic.
I've got a question for you, Valery. You're a poet, and you're interested in the beat poets and all that stuff. How do you think he fits in with that as a California artist?
Well, he was part of the seminar group.
Yes.
And
Wallace Berman and his little
yes,
magazine or whatever it was.
absolutely, and he was part of the whole avant-garde movement. Early on, when he was 28, he had a big success. He moved into
Yes.
Ferus Gallery in California, and Ferus by that time was moving to Europe.
Keinholz.
Berlin,
Keinholz, yeah.
right?
Okay.
And he had a big success. But then, his success diminished, and nobody ever heard of him. But
Well,
he
in
was
California, I mean, they did in California, not in New York.
not in New York, but he was doing stuff that male artists like Ray Johnson
Yes.
were doing here. And his landscape, I see for the first time there, sensational. He's really a great photographer too. So he is a multi-talented artist that is really wonderful. And it's great that we see it.
Kind of neo-Dada, too.
Yes.
Like
and
the
Surrealists.
Fluxus artists and that kind of
Fluxus,
stuff.
Performance
Right,
artists,
happenings.
music,
That's right.
multi-dimensional, and his 3D paintings and assemblages are
Yes,
wonderful.
they're amazing.
Totally.
All right, thanks, Valery
Thank you.
Oisteanu. Okay. Well, this goes back to what we were just talking about, sort of his style of painting from 1963 and 64. It's called Junction 395, 1965. And again, he's kind of putting in these clips, it's almost like film strips on the sides. Another cow painting. He's quite a, he's a competent painter. He's got great touch. It's called Grade A Cow 1964. And I think that if you look at his text and his handwriting, you can see that he's got a natural stroke there that's very nice. Here are some of his kind of bizarre landscapes. And as Valery was saying, I think these are based on photographs, but he achieves this odd texture with that frottage technique. It's titled Sleeping Rock 1969. The monochrome. Oh, that's interesting, the double image. It's titled Nob Hill, 1964. Oil on canvas. Now this show started out at the Hammer Museum in LA, I guess in February 2013. I talk about how Llyn had achieved a pretty high profile and been fairly successful with his cow and his landscape pieces, but he was looking for something to sort of break him out of the routine or the production for the market, and I say that he had a friend that took him down to the local mortuary and showed him a corpse they were working on, and so he went back to the studio and altered a self-portrait he'd been working on and having trouble with for several months, and finished this piece with Who's on Third, which is the beginning of a whole series that he calls the Bloody Heads. And these also sort of get back to his funkier early pieces. And a lot of these are just very crudely fabricated frames, and well, this one, it's even got the back of another canvas. Well, we'll pan over this gallery, which I think probably has examples of some of his work from the 80s that kind of renewed interest in his oeuvre. It's titled O Pablo, 1983, and this really is high relief, and he's also using a lot of found objects. He's got a light bulb in there, photographs. Now, as I was saying earlier, California and California artists have a whole different historic narrative. I find it refreshing. A lot of this is almost designed more like a theatrical backdrop, or maybe a set for a movie shoot. It's like The Last Outpost, 1983. It's titled Made in Hollywood. So he's got his rocky landscape, Mickey Mouse. It's like a starter pistol. This picture is dedicated to the American. Okay. It's probably something like a 5-foot square. Well, now we'll look at pop. I spent a lot of time and money building this special room for this. It says he worked on this for 5 years. Now, I don't know what the music in the background is, but he talks about how influential Spike Jones was for him. Oh, maybe this is his band, the Rubber Band. Well, they've got a rope here about 8 feet in front of this, so we can't get too close. Let's see if we can get some views of the face here. Well, they've got a whole selection of his three-dimensional pieces here titled Walt Disney, Mickey Mouse, and Llyn Foulkes. And I'm not going to give the titles of each one of these, but we'll just sort of walk down this wall and take a look. I think this one is titled Daydream, Another Gun. This is Corporate Kiss. Now it's interesting that he's not only kind of working in relief that sticks out, but some of this is also carved into the picture plane. Like those holes in the ear definitely go back. Well, I think that in many ways Foulkes is kind of typical for an artist that was working in the mid-late 50s, early 60s, in that he kind of fit in with what people in Fluxus and the happening artists, some of the situationist international people were doing, kind of trying to break out of the narrow constraints of abstract expressionism. I've told I should go back in here and see this, The Last Frontier. Well, they've also got this in a special room roped off. Okay, so they've got like an Aboriginal figure in there with a basket. Oh, maybe that's the artist looking at a microwave. This looks like maybe piles of garbage that have built up here. And some kind of dead animal, maybe. You know, in a lot of ways, these almost have the quality of a panoramic display that you would see at the Natural History Museum, maybe. Well, this is a major painting titled Lost Horizon, and this was in his show that I saw up in Chelsea maybe a year or two ago. You know, there's a kind of strange Americanness to a lot of this. Where did I go wrong? Well, this is probably the biggest piece in the show, and I believe it's titled The Renaissance. And they're saying this is a self-portrait, and Llyn is working on a canvas that's got the Chinese letter that stands for mankind. So we've got a crucifix fading into a telephone pole. Here's the brain. Equality, gun control, nonviolence, war, criminals. The different sides of his brain battling it out. So that's kind of a bloody head. And then a Liechtenstein pastiche lady, the human condition in the background. It's titled Art is Love is God. And if I'm not mistaken, that's a quote from Wallace Berman. It kind of combines the postcard paintings and the landscape paintings. You see, they had to control the people. They twisted his words in a book they called the Bible, like the King James Version. It's kind of like a, maybe he's a lapsed Catholic here. Oh, and we're going to wind up on this piece. The Awakening, 1994 to 2012. And I was thinking this is probably the most sculptural of all the pieces. And I wonder if this is a self-portrait. Like the old man. Oh, check out those eyes. Screws. Like a 1930s vanity. And all this stuff is fabric. Kind of recalls Benny Andrews. And like I was saying, David Lynch, I think, probably has been influenced a lot by this. Oh, but that's a beautiful piece. This has been James Kalm reporting on the Llyn Foulkes exhibition here at the new museum on the Bowery. Thank you, Kate.
Every house,